Pada hari pemain nombor 10 yang telah menjaringkan gol setelah berlaku perturunan.
Malaysian Football Weekly kicks off right now on All Sports Asia.
This is Malaysian Football Weekly. Thanks a lot for joining us on our regular look at the local game. This week we have Nicolas Anil from ESPN FC joining us.
Everybody.
And we also have Chief Editor of FourthOfficial.com, Keeshanan.
Hello, Ross.
A first timer. Do follow us on Facebook. Of course, it's Malaysian Football Weekly or All Sports Asia on Facebook. We have a website, allsports.net. We are also on Twitter at All Sports Asia. Coming up this week, then, we're going to focus on fallen giant Selangor. They've lost the manager in the last week. They've not done too well, and we're going to be talking to possibly the biggest Selangor fan, a man known only as Rambo. Yeah, that's coming up. We have a lot to get through. So we're going to start with our look at the MSL. Now, 17 rounds of matches have been played so far, and leaders JDT remain unbeaten. Their latest win was a bad-tempered affair in the MSL against your lot Perak, Keish.
I was at the game, and to be honest, everything that happened at the end of the game was a culmination of atmosphere that was there during the game. It was hostile from both sides. So, and that sort of naturally translated onto the pitch as well. There was a lot of rough acts on the field. Players were getting angry, and tempers were flaring up in there. But at the end of the day, I mean, all you need is that one single opportunity, and a player of Jorge Diaz's quality, that's all he needs to convert. And that's all he did, and eventually they sealed the 1-0 win.
It was his 13th of the season, Diaz. He's well and truly into the game now, isn't he?
Very much, and that goal actually propelled him above Luciano Figueroa on the highest goal scorers list for JDT since 2013. But I would just like to go back to Keish's point about what had happened in the stadium. You know, this all boils down to security once again. You know,
I understand the policing wasn't very good, right?
There were 100 over police.
Yeah, I think it's one. I agree to a large extent that security plays a big part in it. That you obviously need to amp up the amount of people that you station in this kinds of, especially in a game
especially
of this magnitude.
everybody knew before kickoff.
There's a history for
Exactly.
this particular fixture. But I think it also boils down to simple attitude between fans, right? Like the simple ability to just look and identify what is banter and what is not. Because during the game, even if assuming security, even if you had 1,000 people stationed at that point in time, the only thing that would ever instigate a fight is still some form of aggressive banter from one side to the other.
Yep.
And that eventually influenced some of the more hostile fans on both sides of the park to eventually get onto the field. And a journalist himself was unfortunately caught in the middle and became
and then a sea journalist, a photographer, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
This cannot be going on. I mean, no doubt there is animosity between both sides. They're always going to get riled up at each other, going at each other at the slightest provocation. But security, at the end of the day, is pivotal in big games like this. This bad blood encounter has stretched back since 2014. FAM's anti-hooliganism campaign has not kicked off. I don't know what they has been doing since they launched it. You know, it's just a big banner which they parade 2 minutes before kickoff, and that's it. And they go so big about it, advertising it, but it's just words. And FMLLP has done the same thing, and now we have this. You know, we're very lucky that not many people got injured that day, but it could have been a worse scenario with people ending up in the hospital.
Well, I mean, there will be more Perak JDT fixtures.
And it's not exactly new either. It's not like hooliganism popped out of nowhere into Malaysian football. It's been there for a while, and the worst part is it's been brewing, and we've done nothing to inhibit it, or we've done nothing to sort of curb the amount of growth it has had. And the longer we give it time and the ability to just prosper and just become bigger, the more dangerous it becomes in future.
Okay. Right, moving along then. Felder United trailed JDT by 4 points. They were held to a 2-2 draw by struggling Terengganu. They had to come from 2 goals down. What's going on? They were hanging in there, holding on to the coattails of JDT, but this one's put a spanner in the works. This result.
I think it's a lot got to do with lethargy as well. You know, a lot of teams are experiencing that. FMLLP have come and said that, you know, playing 32 games a season, it is normal. We are actually on par with other leagues. You know, if we're going to play less, then we are not as competitive. But just going back to Felda, they have been producing the goods every now and then. You're going to expect a blip. You know, teams can't be winning every game. They can't be taking the lead and hanging on to them all the time. Terengganu actually played really well in that game. But I really have to commend Felda's fighting spirit. They have done this almost every game this season.
I think you could also sense a tiny bit of complacency in the initial stages of the game, because Terengganu haven't had a good run.
No, they haven't. Yeah, they were massive underdogs.
And Felda have been on a good run of form. So heading into the game, there's probably some form of discussions within a dressing room. Hey, we've got this. All we need to do is just play our game. And that tiny bit of complacency was more than enough to knock a real bit of sense into them. And as soon as they were handed a big blow of going 2-0 down, they realized that this was not going to be a walk in the park, and they had to fight back and eventually claw back and get that 2-2 draw.
Alright, well, Selangor are a distant third after they were beaten 1-0 by Kedah in what was to be Zainal Abidin's last game in charge. They went into this one on a bad run. There was two league defeats going into this one. This one made it 3 in a row. I think the day after that he was dismissed.
Yes. Well, I had a look at the highlights of the game and it was terrible, Selangor. Just abject all over the pitch, from midfield to defense. Strikers, I don't even need to go there. You know, they have been just so terrible. The goalkeeper might have not been there and they would not find the net. Just lapse in defense. You know, Bang Sun Huan just nodding in unmarked to head home the winner, and Selangor never put effort into getting back into the game. And I got the feeling that a lot of players, they were just disheartened. I don't know if it was Zainal or with the management, but they just refused to play, and they have been refusing to play for the last 4 games.
I mean, like, haven't we seen this earlier in the season? Like, the biggest surprise for me was the fact that Zainal actually lasted till July, because we have seen the similar performances throughout the past 5 months at least. And if you look at the stats, apparently they've conceded a lot more goal on average without Rob Conthwaite than they did with Rob Conthwaite. And the excuse for letting go of Rob Conthwaite was that our defense is not good enough and we've got to sign a new guy to amp up the defense.
And funny now, because Sydney's defense has got quite good recently. I wonder why. All right, I tell you what, we're going to hear a lot more about Selangor. We're going to be hearing from a lifelong Selangor supporter and a spokesperson for many Selangor fans. That's coming up in the second half of the show. Moving on, though, with our look at the MSL, Kelantan won the East Coast Derby 2-0. Badri Razi getting into good form again, and Luis Jr. Scoring the goals for them. Kelantan, well, they were always going to win this one, weren't they, against C-Team?
The thing about Kelantan is they have sort of struggled over the last year or even a year and a half or so, primarily because of different factors, but also because Badri Razi has never really been able to reproduce the form that saw him once being touted as the best midfielder in Malaysia. And to a large extent, the reason he was recognised as that was because he was given that free role. You can draw comparisons with Safiq Rahim and see how excellent he becomes when he's given the free role to roam around midfield. And I think under Steve Darby or under George Boateng or even the previous head coach, he was never really given the free role.
More responsibility.
Always asked to drop back and defend. But I think that's a change that Velizar Popov has done. He's sort of identified that we have a player that could be a creative pivot for us, assuming we give him the time and space to be able to do so.
Will Popov be given time to remain there next season, Nick, do you reckon?
Well, based on current form, he definitely looks good.
But he's already, he too was moaning about the fixture congestion.
Yes, he among a host of coaches, you know. But Popov is very vocal. He goes on Twitter and he comments the team when they play very well, and you know, he sometimes criticizes them when they play badly, which is the type of coach you need, for a team like Kelantan. You know, they have always been up there, mixing it up with the big boys, winning trophies, winning cups, winning league titles. It's just good to see them back. it's also not Badri Radzi that has been pulling the strings. You got to look at Wander Lewis, who's just come in from a totally different atmosphere.
He has settled quickly. Yeah.
Very, very quickly, and he's very daring. Takes shots from anywhere he gets the chance, and one of the turnarounds is definitely due to him as well.
Good. Well, keeping with the turnaround theme, we look at Penang now, who continued their resurgence with a good 2-0 win against Sarawak in Sarawak. And the good thing about this was Faizat and Kumaran scored the goals.
Yes,
Hey?
good to see two young boys, finally getting on the score sheet, and that is what Boyan is looking to do. Give the young boys a run out at the team, and they're mixing it up very nicely with the locals as well. With the foreigners. You've got two foreigners who are on form, Jong Seok Min and also Randy Martins, who have been scoring like nobody's business. And you get these two boys to supplement that, and all props to Penang.
And if Penang do really go on to complete a tremendous comeback and finish mid-table by the end of the season, I think most people would look back at that 1-1 draw against JDT as a major turning point.
Great
because
point.
you bring the reigning champions to your home, and they absolutely played their hearts out. And if you were to look at the game from a different perspective, it wouldn't be unfair to suggest that Penang were actually pretty unlucky to leave that match without 3 points.
Yep.
So that would have given them a massive, and you could see that confidence being translated onto the pitch when they played against Sarawak.
Yeah.
There was just so much more freedom, so much more enthusiasm. The most important thing is Boyan and Nenad Basina, with their own personal credentials as well.
I think they just threaten to sit on the players if they don't listen to them.
They have restored that sense of belief to the team that we're actually a pretty solid team.
Absolutely. Classic case of maybe management can work, if applied properly. All right, well, Pahang are in all kinds of trouble. They're propping up the table. Their latest defeat was against the Cops, and can we see Zainal back there? That's not too unlikely, is it?
By the looks of it, I think Pahang are due a foreign coach. Their last 4 coaches have been local. I don't know, somehow there is the two previous coaches, Dola Saleh and Zainal, did well, but Zainal was doing really well because of the work done by Dola. And after Zainal had left, that continuity never ever happened. Ahmad Shahrudin Rosdi took over. He's just very raw into management and never really got the sync of things. And then after that, Razib Ismail comes in. I'll tell you a story about Razib. That's a whole different story, because I saw a lot of things at the Shah Alam Stadium which was really not pleasing on the eye.
Really?
Yeah.
And if you look at Pahang under Zainal, or even Dola Saleh for that matter, the large reason as to why they were so superior over the past 3 seasons, it wasn't only about the coach. It was also the fact that they had really, really good foreign players.
Yeah.
They had 2 centre-backs, ex-Premier League centre-backs playing at the heart of their defence. They had a striker in the form of Dixon Nokame, who's now playing in the French First Division.
Yep.
And they had Matthias Conti. You compare that with the batch of foreigners that they have right now, there's a gulf in class is so apparent. So as much as you could blame it on the coach, and I'm pretty sure there is some form of blame to be shouldered by the coach, but you should be able to manage your expectations with a batch of foreigners.
Well, you got to feel for the fans, though, right?
Yeah.
You're cheering Malaysia Cup success not too long ago. Suddenly you're going, well, maybe relegation will do us good, yeah? All right, well, after 17 rounds, then, this is what the MSL table looks like. Felder dropping points, guys. Basically handed the title to JDT, you reckon? 5 games left?
Well, there is the big top of the table clash
coming up
this month.
Yep.
So if Felda win that game, then they're definitely back in with a shout. But if JDT wins, then
could be interesting. Selangor distant third, 17 points off JDT.
I think title hopes are just gone. I think the only thing they can do right now,
they're going to get caught by Kedah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just 1 point.
That's the only thing. That's the best case scenario. You sit down, gather, regroup, and just hold on to secure the third spot. The sad thing is, if they finish third and if Felda and JDT do finish first and second, which looks likely, Selangor are not going to be in the AFC Cup again next year.
All right, well, round 18 of fixtures looks like this. Will JDT continue their winning ways against the Cops? Surely they will. Pahang will surely win at... Felda will surely win at Pahang. So you got the top 2.
That's on paper, but you never know.
The next round could actually see Kedah oust Selangor for third. If Selangor slip up against Terengganu and Kedah beat Sarawak.
Yep.
Highly
Fair
likely.
enough, highly likely. Yeah, Kedah have looked. It's been a story of the season, topsy-turvy. At some points when they are good, they look really, really
They
good.
look really good, yes,
Excellent,
yes.
especially with Liridon Krasniqi in midfield, and Shane Smeltz has packed a little bit of punch up front as well. It's just that on certain days they just don't turn up. And when they don't turn up, they just look like any regular below average MSL side, and any team is able to beat them on their day.
All right, well, that concludes our look then at the MSL. Short break. When we come back, we will concentrate on the Malaysia Cup. We'll also hear from Patrick Ronaldinho Ray and Selangor's biggest fan. Stay tuned.
This is MFW on All Sports Asia.
Welcome back. Nicolas Anil from ESPN FC joining us, along with the chief editor of fourthofficial.com, Keeshanan. You can follow us on Facebook, guys. It's Malaysian Football Weekly, All Sports Asia on Facebook. We are also on Twitter at All Sports Asia. A look now then at the 2016 TM Malaysia Cup. It's the 90th edition this year. It is really an old football competition. Even rivals the FA Cup in its age and stuff. 4 rounds of group matches have been played so far. Let's start with Group A. Kedah are unbeaten leaders in Group A. Now, their latest win was a 3-2 win against JDT2 in Pasir Gudang. We'll talk about JDT now, actually. Both JDT clubs aren't doing well in the Malaysia Cup, are they?
Yeah, I think the league exertions have taken somewhat of a toll on them, and JDT2, we've always spoken about them slowly easing off the Premier League title chase when the season draws to an end, but it doesn't seem to be the case this season. They're still up there in second place, pushing forward really well. I think Benjamin Mora is very smart in managing his resources. He knows he doesn't have as big as a squad as he would like, with some players out through injuries as well. So the focus is definitely still on the Premier League. You could see them doing well in the Malaysia Cup, but in this game, Kedah were really good winners, really worthy winners.
Yeah. And again, Shane Smeltz scoring for Kedah. T-Team looked good to follow Kedah through in Group A. They made light work of Sarawak.
T-Team has really been the surprise packages of this year. They have a relatively young squad, and even their foreigners aren't really big name guys as well. They've just cherry picked them based on scouting, and they are really playing like a unit. And I think the one thing that has like fixed really well for T-Team is the fact that there's a sense of unity within the squad. You could see them playing as a unit as opposed to foreigners attempting to be individual and attempting to be showing off their skills or whatever not, as opposed to T-Team where they're just stuck in and they get stuck in and they play as a unit. And that has really helped them in the Super League as well as in the Malaysia Cup. Obviously, you've had days when they've lost, when they've slipped up, but I think to a large extent with the resources that they have and the squad that they have, I think they have looked miles ahead of Terengganu this year. If you ask me, in a lot of games, they've looked a lot better than their parent club.
Management wise as well, T-Team have stuck to Ahmad Domawan. He's done such a great job with them. Not a bunch of superstars as Keesh said, but the foreigners who have been there, Patrick Cruz and also Makan Konote, has endeared himself so much to the fans by speaking Malay in his post-match.
It helps when you do that, exactly. I'm sure he'll get into the nasi as well. All right, well, so Kedah and T-Team look good to progress from Group A. The fixtures for the next round, JDT2 with work to do. They're away in Sarawak for round 5, and the top 2 will meet at Darul Aman on match day 5. That's going to be tasty.
Exactly, tasty. But even the second game between JDT2 and Sarawak could be tasty as well.
Yes.
Those are two teams that are looking at trying to avoid at all costs finishing bottom.
The
of the
wooden
group.
spoon.
Exactly, and these are two teams that are really struggling, and especially in terms of players within the squad. A lot of the players are really pushing hard because let's remember in Malaysian football, towards the end of the season, a lot of the players not only play for title or survival, they're also playing for contracts for next year or to impress other teams. So they're all going to be pushing in that game.
Absolutely. All right, in Group B then, Selangor celebrated a welcome win, 3-0 against Pahang in Shah Alam. This was under interim coach, wasn't it?
Yes, K. Gunalan.
And it was a good win. The changes made by Gunalan, he made Andik captain, I understand.
Yep.
Patrick Ronaldinho got himself a hat-trick.
Yep.
And Nicolas Anil, in fact, caught up with hat-trick hero Patrick Ronaldinho and K. Gunalan at the press conference after the game.
Different situations for now really to do for the goals because if I don't score goals, pressure all comes on my team. And I all pray to score goals for my team today.
Okay, congratulations because of you for hat-trick tonight. And what is your plan moving forward with Selangor? What is your motivation to help your team to be better today?
Yeah, for me, our target to reach the quarterfinal in the Malaysian Cup. Target to last year's National Valley Cup. So it's a big task to go and pressure on the team. So this year we fight hard to reach quarterfinal for our team.
I know you scored it tonight, but I believe the supporters of Selangor need more from you. What you promise to your Selangor fans?
For me, I told you I'm not fan of the patient with me. Sometimes I play good, sometimes I play good. Sometimes I score, sometimes I score. Like, if I score good, it happened to me. So if I don't score, it's angry, so I'm sending a message to somewhere. It's like my mother, about my kid. It's so for you. This members of people up. It's the first time people do it. So the pressure for me, it's not about to score. So like, I'm feeling under pressure, but for now, it's okay. I'm good. When you coach everybody to play free.
Terus kompetitif coach, mengatakan sistem yang berbeza dari coach yang berbeza. Adakah coach akan menerapkan sistem yang berbeza berbanding coach yang terbiasa?
Saya rasa sistem tidak berbeza, tapi saya rasa saya nak mendidik sikit penukaran sikit main dan juga menjadi style of play sikit supaya dapat suit kerana veteran player kerana banyak dia kena terima bola. Saya tidak perlukan nombor supaya dapat bermain walaupun saya rasa pasukan baru dan saya terbaik tinggi kita tahu dia ada kelebihan kalau buat dia main bola. Jadi saya rasa itu hasil. Saya rasa saya tidak perlukan banyak dengan tayang style sikit juga.
Ya, kemarin tadi coach nampak berbeza dengan belakang dan keadaan pemain sayap lebih banyak dan Siaki dan Rupi dan Beijing di depan senang dulu tadi untuk captain bola masuk.
Saya rasa dengan kelebihan hari ini nanti bermain dan juga dengan Rupi di sepanjang hari ini akan lebih banyak dia punya kaki supaya dapat proses untuk dari
in relation to you play dalam sana. Instead of using the same player over the team. Because dalam mana tadi nampak ada dalam presiden player.
Because it's not easy for me because I'm caretaker. Jadi aku saya akan cuba sedaya upaya lah kerana saya kena bawa pemain banyak supaya saya nanti dengan jadual pakai saya tak mahu ada satu apa saya kena main. Jadi apa yang saya ada saya main.
One game in, coach. I mean, good win nonetheless. But do you somehow see yourself in charge of this team until end of the season, maybe even next season?
I can't say anything about it, but I just work. I get instruction from my committee, from my management, my whole management. If they believe in me, then I'll just want to do it. If they bring in you, then I can do it. Just do my work.
I like the fact that Ronaldinho conducted the whole PC without any shoes or socks on. Class.
They just pulled him into
by the way,
you come and speak to us.
Well, Nicolas was hard at work at the game because he also caught up with lifelong Selangor fan Al-Fadli Al-Waludin, aka Rambo.
Selangor have made changes. They're about to fans pressure. They've released the coach, they've released the general secretary and also the treasurer. Is this what the fans want at the end of the day?
Not yet. Not exactly the objective that we want, but it's part of it. Moving forward, you need to get the best people in the right place. So what we want now is we want to push for the privatization of the team. But the privatization must be in a correct module. It could be get the involvement of the community and the fans and all. It could be the best module, and also it must apply to the criteria that have been set by the authority, which is AFC and also FMNLP. Because according to FMNLP, by 2018, all teams must be privatized in order for them to participate in the MB.
Right.
So why not we move forward towards that?
Right.
From now on.
Right. But moving ahead to privatization, should it take place this season, what kind of owner would you like to see in Selangor, and also how much of an involvement you think the fans should have in the club?
That's a very hard question. Well, everyone that's involved must be passionate. First thing must be 120 to 100% passionate about the team. That's the first thing. Even the fans, the involvement of the fans itself must be passionate at first,
Right.
before they can get involved now. So, as per your questions, that's my answer.
Okay. Right.
The first thing is that you must have a passionate person to get Selangor moving on.
Right.
Forward.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a football person. It could be a business person with passion and interest for the game, for the club.
Could be, yes.
Okay.
It could be anything.
Right. Right. But
Like I said, the best person at the right place.
right. And that would definitely be in the next season, or the next 1 or 2 years. But for the time being, Selangor are now without a head coach. Who would you like to see? I mean, the fans itself, because you have been a fan for the longest time.
For me, what can we achieve for this season? If we win this season, what will be our as the continuous achievement?
Right.
Like we won the Malaysia Cup, but
Right.
there's no continuity
Right.
of the success.
Right.
So we don't want that. We don't want that to happen every season.
Right.
What we want is the continuity of the success.
Right.
Kan? So basically, to me, why not we look beyond 2016 already? Plan
Okay.
what we want to do next season,
Right.
what we want to do for the next 2 seasons and the next 5 seasons, the next 10 years and whatsoever.
Right.
Let's plan from now.
Right.
Rather than looking for the balance of the 2016 season, why not we look beyond that?
Right. But your hopes, for Selangor to just hang on to third spot, to perhaps go as far as possible in the Malaysia Cup, perhaps defend it?
If the team wants to win, the player wants to win, they can win. It's just that they don't want to win.
Right.
So let's see whether they want to win for this season or they just want to do what they want to do.
Right.
Let's see from there.
So, that interview, what Rambo's saying there is basically what every Selangor fan wants. Continuity, success, and more forward-looking, not short-term success, right?
Yes. Selangor have always been a club that has achieved so much, and the fans want to see that. The fans are willing to come back to the stadium if only they are willing to produce results. But results will come from good management, and that has not been the case in the team for the last 2-3 seasons. You see, the reason why Rosman left, the reason why Siva left, is because they had the mandate to orchestrate things, to call the shots, to get in the right players, to get in the right structure, to get in the right programs. But they have never done anything except sign letters. And that's what the Selangor fans do not want to see. What they want now is for the club to go towards privatization. And not only that, they want to have a share and a say in the team, which I think makes a lot of sense because Selangor are a fan-based team. They are one with the supporters, You have 25 to 30,000 fans on average if they are playing well. And now in this sort of situation, only 2,000, 3,000 turns up, which is not the way to go.
No.
So the fans have basically deduced this season pretty much as a write-off, which is kind of sad. But they are already looking to see what the management are going to do ahead of next season. What are they going to, which owners are they going to bring in? What sort of plans the owners have for the team, not only for the first team but also for the development side.
Okay, well, Kelantan are Group B leaders thanks to their 1-0 win against KL, and again, that man Badri Radzi in that free role.
Is that it's really glaring how excellent he's become when he's given that free role. He looks, you could almost see the joy in his face whenever he plays these days, because and credit has to go to the role that Brendan Gunn is playing
agreed.
within Kelantan as well. I think Popov sees him as that guy to sit back, to form sort of like a protective membrane ahead of the defense and just get in those tackles and just protect the defense, which allows Badri Razi a bit more freedom to go forward and form that combination with Wonder Lewis, which is really helping Kelantan. And props to Popov for that.
Absolutely. So Kelantan then 10 points, leading the Group B. Selangor on 7. Both teams looking good to progress. This Friday it's Pahang against KL, Kelantan against Selangor.
Well, the test for Selangor begins at Kelantan because they played a really poor Pahang team the other day. So as much as you could see that victory as some sort of a turnaround, it would not be complete if they do not go and produce a result at Kelantan. So Gunalan has a lot on his plate. He's dealing with a lot of injury, and from what I gather, players who do not want to play for him, if he can overcome that, get a result away at Kelantan, that would probably be like a turning factor for Selangor ahead of the rest of the season.
Okay. In Group C then, the Group C games were played on Wednesday night. JDT hit another snag. They are yet to win in the Malaysia Cup. 1-1 draw this time against Perak.
And it wasn't a second string squad.
It wasn't,
it was a
exactly.
first team squad.
They knew they had to win it.
Yes, they had Lucero playing up front. The only difference, the only change they made was right at the back when they had Fadli Shahs in place of Aidil Zafwan. But yet again, I mean, Perak under Wegang, even if they have not looked pretty, but they've really been a tough nut to crack. He's got the defensive organisation sorted out, and I think the one most crucial change that Wegang has brought to Perak has been the involvement of Kenny Palraj at the heart of their midfield. Under Samshul Saad and even previous coaches, he was used as a utility player where he was more often than not chucked into defense or midfield to just replace players that have gone out on injury or suspension. Whereas here, Wegang recognizes his ability to be that guy, to play that sort of a Brendan Gunn role in Perak, if you may, to just create those tackles and just clear off the ball. And the good thing about Kenny Palraj is that he's composed, meaning that Perak's transition between defense to attack is more often than not smooth because of him as well. And even on that day, people like Amri Yahya, people like Safiq Rahim, people like Azdi Taib all struggled at the Larkin Stadium. They all struggled to break past the Perak defense, which already has Thiago at the back, who's pretty sturdy, and right now they have Kenny Palraj doing all the dirty work in front of them as well. So it was impressive stuff from Perak.
Indeed.
But yet again, Mario Gomez has a lot to think ahead of the next game.
So that point, not enough for JDT. They dropped down to the bottom of the group. PKNS replaced them in third thanks to their 1-0 win over PDRM. It was Shahrain who scored the winner. PDRM and Perak, I mean, this is probably the most open group still so far, right?
Yes.
You got Perak and PDRM on 7 points, PKNS and JDT 4 and 3. It's 2 games left. It's going to the wire.
All to play for. Exactly.
And not forgetting, PKNS are cup doers this season. They've made their way all the way to the FA Cup final. They held JDT to an first game draw at the Larkin Stadium. So you are looking at a team who are unassuming in their ways but capable of big results.
Okay, a look then finally at Group D, where Felder United are top thanks to their 2-1 win against Malacca United. It's that man, Francis Forquido. You pay him the money, he'll get you the goals.
Yeah, I mean, he's been banging in the goals for the last 4 years.
Exactly.
It was surprising because there was a point when earlier in the season, in fact prior to the season, there was a point when Forkido was actually going on trial to different clubs in Malaysia, and it took several clubs before Felda United finally snapped him up.
I find it hard to believe.
Exactly, because he's the kind of guy that you feed him the balls and he converts and scores for you, right? And he's been doing that for Felda. He's been doing exceptionally well, so much so that Irfan Bhakti was willing to let go of Thiago Augusto during the mid-season transfer window, and yet again he popped up with a goal. And I think the only miss, I'm not sure if he's going to recover anytime soon, but I understand that Lutfullah Turaev is out for the rest of the season.
Oh dear.
That could be a big miss, especially when they play JDT in that all-important title clash, because it gives them that added bit of steel in midfield. While Zarahan gives you the creativity, Turaev gives you that steel. It'll be interesting to see how they cope without him for the rest of the year.
The good thing is they are soon to get back Hadi Nazman. He's been out injured for a couple of weeks as well. So once he comes back, he's going to give that midfield a real attacking
like a new player.
Yep.
Okay, hot on Felda's heels are Negeri Sembilan. They beat Terengganu 1-0. Yet another clean sheet for our good mate Saidatni. He celebrates the fact that on Instagram and Twitter. And I always like the pictures. But they're coming good, and they're having a good run in the Malaysia Cup, aren't they? N9.
Yeah, Gary Phillips, he's infused the squad with a lot of naturalized players and a lot of local players that really enterprising at times. Not too bad their position in the Premier League. They're still in the top 5, but it's at this Malaysia Cup where I see them somewhat getting to the second stage just because of the results that they've been producing. They have a good crowd. The crowd has been the main
and they're still in there on promotion. They're still in with a shout. They're in the picture at least. Group D then looks like this. Felda United and Negeri Sembilan both on 9 points. On Friday, you've got Malacca against N9. If Malacca win that, could they drag themselves back in it? That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
They could, but the what I've liked about Negeri Sembilan in a cup competition, especially Malaysia Cup, is that they've not looked expensive going forward, and Gary Phillips knows that. So what he's done is that he's just transformed the side into saying that, look, we can't go out there and play beautiful football and score 3, 4, 5 goals and expect to win games, but let's give the fans something to cheer by just grinding out victories. So they've set in really deep. They've not really played with so much of attacking flair, but they've got that one odd goal in every game that is giving them a bit of an edge. So they know how to grind out victories.
And confidence is building with every win,
good
right? With
that. So even against Malacca, I'm pretty sure, although on paper Negeri Sembilan are probably better, but I'm pretty sure that Gary Phillips will not be the kind of guy that's going to go out there and say, hey, look, we're better on paper. Let's abandon what we've been doing for the rest for most of the Malaysia Cup and go all out and attack. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they'll stick to the same plan that has given them the sort of rewards that they've acquired so far. And I'll tip them for a win.
Oh, nice one. Terengganu versus Felda is the other Group D game. I think that's about it. Anything else to add? We're just about out of time.
Yeah.
You want to moan about something, don't you?
We have the FAM executive meeting on Monday, and big decisions are going to be made because TMJ had alleged that a lot of the executive member would be stepping down. They were confronted the other day at a football event, and they said all to be revealed on the 15th. So let's see if they really do somewhat keep to their word and step down, or they try to find a reason to stay on. Because if they do, then things are going to be dragging on. It's really not going to be looking good for Malaysian football. It's also very interesting to see if Tengku Abdullah would remain in the hot seat, because he stated that he would resign last year and he's still in the hot seat.
Depending on the outcome of Monday's meeting, I'm pretty sure all of us are going to be refreshing the JDT Facebook page.
Yes.
For sure.
Some statements are released.
I tell you what, we'll do all the refreshing for you, and we will be back with MFW 10 next week and tell you all about that important meeting. For now, I'm going to say thanks to Nicolas Anil.
Thank you, guys.
And thanks to Keeshanan.
Cheers, Ross. Cheers.
An
guys.
absolute star. Thanks for watching. Bye now.
Follow us on Facebook and tune in next week for more Malaysian Football Weekly on All Sports Asia.